Hi, my name is Monica Walker, and I'm here today with John Sweetnam of Coaching Navigator, and we're talking about his new program, Conflict Evolution. And we've been having a sort of an ongoing conversation about some sort of tools and techniques and ways that we can shift our state of being so that we're better able to handle conflict in our lives. It's been a very engaging conversation, John, so let's continue.
Well, we're really talking about energy. We're talking about going home at the end of the day and having enough energy to be present with our after-hours work. So many people I meet now are so busy getting ready for work, eating for work, driving to work, being at work, and getting home from work, and it feels like a 12-hour day, even if they're punched in for 8 hours and some more, really. That drive time and getting ready, it rounds to 12 or 13 hours. And when people are coming to me as clients, they say, I'm depleted. I'm burnt out. I grab something and watch a bit of silly nothing TV and go to bed. And that happens day after day. And I think some people get to this point where it's not enough. People are just saying, and it's not fulfilling. And so really the work we're doing here is to really take a good look at how we use our energy. And energy is a key. And I once read an article about that if we had this metaphoric number of 125 units of positive energy, you might relate it to willpower at the beginning of our day. How we use it, misuse it, abuse it, let it drip away like a bucket with a hole in it. Remember the old song from Belafonte, My Bucket's Got a Hole in It? Well, I think our willpower bucket and our bucket of energy in the day sometimes has a perpetual leak. And our energy is dripping out and sometimes pouring out. And we evolved this program around handling conflict or issues in order to permanently address leaky bucket.
Leaky bucket.
Leaky bucket. We got to end the leaky bucket, not just for the sake of the bucket, but for us to go home having enough energy left, having enough residual energy to stay connected to family, to children, to outdoor activities, to contributing in community, to going out to, I don't say line dancing any night, but swing dancing, whatever's the vogue. I hear the burlesque is back. I don't know what it is today, but we want to be in community with energy. We want to be home with our partners with energy. We want to be here with our family with energy. And not just energy like survival energy, but energy that allows for participation.
Would you say that there is some sort of consistent factors that, there's lots of different ways that we, can engage with life that drain our energy. But is there anything sort of, you would say, consistently in all these different situations that people tend to do that really makes them vulnerable to doing that?
And that is probably the essential question we need to ask ourselves. Is this supporting me or taking something away? Is this adding to my life or is it taking something away? And as you've pointed out in our conversations, sometimes you're in the thick of it, you can't see the forest for the trees. Sometimes just for safety, you're going to stay on the beaten path. Sometimes you're just too tired to explore a new way. So energy is a big component of the success of our program, and that's to really stop and listen to what we're saying about the situation. Are we throwing a whole lot of energy at something that doesn't need it? Because some things need as I said to you before, and I said if energy in this situation, conflict could run from 1 to 12, well, if it's a level 6 conflict, we don't need to throw both barrels. We don't need to really load everything down. If it's a level 2 or 3, we can just kind of take our time to address it. Maybe we can even invite it to explore it tomorrow or next week. At level 12, our house is burning down, a Chernobyl kind of accident. Yes, we need to really, this is conflict. But life is not Chernobyl. Life is not a tsunami. Life is not these great things we read about like the Nepal earthquake that 8,000 people died just a year and a day ago. That's not what's happening most of the time. Most of the time our conflict is a number of little things. And we need to assign to them the appropriate response energetically. So if we're going hunting, we don't unload both barrels at a small sparrow. I once did it, Errol, when I was out hunting years ago, hunting my first, as a 12-year-old, hunting a game for Thanksgiving. And there was a field grouse, a grouse in the forest, and I pull up my shotgun and I pull it and knock him right in my feet. Well, there was nothing but pellets. Aunt Betty had to spend half the morning taking the pellets out before we could cook my little bird, you know. So we need to discharge appropriate energy to get a proper result. So energy is a big key, is to start understanding what adds to our energy bank and what takes away from our energy bank. We all have so much energy, and that's it. And if it's a day when your energy is a little lower, I think, as all people who need to husband resources, we want to manage our energy with a lot more care. So that's, to me, is what I'm thinking. So when I mention energy to you, do you have days when it's not unlimited, when you feel more constrained?
Absolutely, yeah.
And do you have days when you feel kind of magical? You're hop skipping and life is just great.
Sure, yes.
And do you notice when you have those days when life is flowing and you're hopping and skipping like a day in spring in the forest, when you meet someone, your energetic state is so much more, may I use the word positive, up, available, willing to take more risk? And you notice I didn't mention fear. In that state of energetic presence, we're able to enter into a conflict situation and fear dissipates because our thought and energy is I'm going to say controlled as much as focused, like a laser. We're getting better results. We're more engaged. We're willing to risk going in there because we know we're enough. We know we're safe. We know we can ask better questions, and we can not only be attuned to our energy, but we're not explosive. We're not reacting. We're stopping with the intention and the practice of just slowing it down. That sounds like that's a concern to you. Would you be willing to try this? Would you be open to exploring with me? That sounds like something we need to discuss, and I'm really not in a great space right now. I was up all night doing a project. Could we set that off till next Tuesday? You know, so we can reform our need to be present in it. And then when we are present with it, we can actually drop into it.
Right. John, I just wanted to ask you, because there are times when I feel that I've got something happening in me where I'm feeling good, I'm feeling in my flow, it's one of those good days, and yet still, I might get to a place in myself, almost because I'm in a good space, almost because the energy's flowing, I might meet a new area in myself where it's like, what you had talked last week, I think, about exploring possibility. So, its growth starts to happen, and then I'm entering suddenly into an area of myself I never have before, and then there can be difficulty even just with the expansion of a positive energy. How do you think we can deal with that kind of thing?
Well, that takes on the majesty of our program. First of all, I'm feeling good and I want to take that risk. I want to know more. I want more meaningful purpose in my life. I want to have that little sparkle from doing something extra, and yet I haven't maybe done it before. I'm not sure if I can do it right. I'm not sure if I know exactly what to do. And little bells are going off. Oh, a little fear, anxiety, and doubt. It's just natural. 60% of our brain goes there. And the amygdala is setting off alarm bells to keep you safe. But at the other hand, it does challenge you to second guess yourself. And that's how this process, worked on as a process over time, allows you to align yourself to what you value and what you know intuitively is right. So you're coming into the process at that time of knowing that, one, you can back the truck up, as I say in the valley. You can step back into an earlier part of what was my intention for this. What is my state of mind? If this is a practice and it's not just flowing where I would like it to go, I have total control to ease back a bit. I don't have to push through it. Maybe it has to be completed another day, but I'm comfortable when I go into the conflict, into the fear that's generated by that, the uniqueness, the subtlety, the elegance of the heart-based process is the heart is a self-cleaning, self-clearing mechanism so that it overrides the pain and the fear. of the conflict. I want to say that again. It's so important that the heart, as a self-cleaning, self-organizing mechanism, energetically will clear and give you the strength, courage, power, resilience to go into the pain and through it. 7 steps down, and I'll tell more about in another conversation, you absolutely go through the pain of the conflict and out the other side. Guaranteed. No more than 7 steps. Between 5 and 7, you go from the pain and fear of the conflict to a freedom, choice, unity, oneness in less than 7 questions, 7 steps. And you can do that when you're being resourceful. When you are connected to your resources, and you do that through energetically knowing you're aware. And knowing when it's coming up and it's biting you in the face that you're not grounded. That there's something sticky in you, like Velcro, that you're hooking onto, and you say, wow, what am I making up? And we teach in the program, we say, the story I'm making up about this conflict is that, well, they should have known better. I expected Sue to show up and have her report done. I expected my parking space to be plowed. I expected Grandma to stay home this morning and not being on a 10 o'clock hair appointment at 8 in the morning. I mean, so I start to hear the story that I'm telling myself that's keeping this conflict getting bigger and bigger. Have you ever noticed that if people go home emotionally charged, by the time they're talking to the least person they can work with, or probably their live-in partner, that could actually do something about it, they're furthest away from the person that could do something, and by then the emotional energy is rising. Have you ever noticed that?
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
And so then the emotional energy is way out here, and the problem wasn't that big, but they're talking to all the people that can't do a thing about it. And of course, I don't know if you're like me, but from time to time I want to tune out. I've heard that story before. It's repetitive. I think I've heard it 5 times now. I thought we'd worked that out. Fingers are tapping. And I thought we understood what we were going to do. Impatience. And, oh, you're still there. You know, a little judgment tipping out, you know. And I'm tired of hearing the same story. And I know it's going to be 20 minutes. It's not going to happen. It'll be repeated 3 times because as they notice my lessening engagement, the story amplifies to redraw me back in. You ever notice that? So I think this isn't going well. This is not going places, right?
Yes.
And that's this whole thing about energy is how do I stay positive? Because at that moment, I'm thinking, okay, I gave you this 2 nights. We've had 2 nights of going to this. I've done this, I've done that. So I'm starting to sense that I'm not getting my needs met. And therein lies one of the bigger challenges is that we need to make sure that people in the conflict, either ourselves or with others, are heard first before we start saying, okay, my needs now are on the table as well. It's a lot of compassion, a lot of empathy, a lot of, and we'll talk more about that next, about what we need to do to open up the gate of exploration, to stay good energy, to stay positive. We need to allow a lot of space for people who have been wounded, hurt, and some of these stories of wounds have been going on for 20 years, 30 years. It's not like they just happened last night. When we're coming into the conflict, we're not in our most resourceful state. We have resources, but our ability to drop in and call upon them, to explore them, because our energy is being siphoned off, doesn't let them rise to the top.
Right.
So energy is big.
We don't have much more time, but quickly, I wanted to ask you, what is it about asking somebody, providing that listening space for another person's needs? What effect is that having on the energy? How, the energy specifically, the flow of energy, how is that supporting that in the situation to help remove the conflict?
That's probably the biggest question that people ask me in relationships. Okay, I'm going to listen to her. I'm going to listen to him. Son of a gun. And it's listening with an open heart and listening with a sense of giving people space to vent even if it isn't totally true. But people need a space. And when some people start to be heard, not cut off, I'm using the word deep listening, not just listening at the surface, but maybe saying, wow, that sounds important. I'm surprised that it touched you that way. I hadn't thought of it like that. Wow. I can see that really hurt you or touched you. I can see that would set off a lot of confusion. I can see how that, I'm hearing that really, really deeply touched you or hurt you or left you not being valued, not being acknowledged. And it may not happen in 20 minutes that that person has fully been able to vent. The challenge in my older lifetime, how many lifetimes I've lived, I don't know, is I wanted to fix it right away. Okay, that's simple enough. And of course it isn't. And that's a challenge, because I'm not telling people we have a perfection here. We have a process by which if you honor it, see it as just energy, knowing we're energy beings, and shaping, like shapeshifters, edge walking at the edge of energy so you can see more of it. You can actually have that energy in a form that works for you. Because it's in formless originally, and now it's in form. So we're just playing with the form of the energy by naming it, name it, tame it, and claim it. We're giving it form that we can manage by stepping back from it so we have a wider perspective of it. Energy is important, and letting people's energy be heard. Remember, it's just energy. They're using words that may throw you into a snit or a fit. Some of the words may be, yeah, that guy or that person. They're just words. If we look at it as energy, it's just energy. You wouldn't deny the energy of the sun. You wouldn't deny the energy of the moon or the energy of the wind. You wouldn't say, well, I don't like the wind today, you know. I mean, you'd start qualifying the wind. Could you be a little less windy here? You could be windy over there, but not windy here. I mean, you don't mess with the sun. You say, oh, you know, and you put some sun guard on when you need to. But we do mess with people's energy when they use words. And we think we can start bottling up and qualifying and justifying and rationalizing. And I always love the word rationalize. It says, what is rationalizing? When you rationalize lies. So we tell ourselves all these stories about energy that aren't even true. And we put a lot of power in them. So that's the nature of letting people be fully heard by changing our awareness, our perception, and the stories we have about it. And that changes the energy. It's manageable.
This is wonderful, John, to be having this conversation. Thank you again.
Thank you.